The book of Lamentations is written by Jeremiah, the one that we call the weeping prophet. And part of the reason is because Jeremiah's ministry was tumultuous the whole time. The kings were against him, the people were against him, the other prophets were against him. He kind of stood alone. He was a young man who had a gift of prophecy. He spoke what God put in his heart, and people turned against him. Now, the interesting thing is everything he spoke came to pass, and he was proven to be the true prophet. But in the meantime, he went through a lot of things, and because of that, he got discouraged, he got depressed, and he lived out much of his life hopeless. But it's in the midst of his despair, maybe when he was in a pit, maybe when he was in prison, because he was in both. It was in one of those places that he found hope in the Lord. And he wrote about it in Lamentations chapter 3. He begins chapter 3 by saying, I'm a man who's seen affliction. Then he says again in verse 18, all of my hope is perished before me. But then he gets down to verse 21 in Lamentations 3 and gives us one of the most encouraging verses in all of the Bible. Here's what he says. This I recall to mind, therefore I have hope. So if you need hope today, this is what you need to think about. He says in verse 22, Lamentations 3:22, through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should hope and wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. He goes on in verse 31 to say, the Lord will not cast off forever, even though there is grief. He will show his compassion. And then he says in verse 33, the Lord does not afflict willingly, nor grieve the children of men. That lets me know that there's a lot of things going on in the world that seem like God's allowing it, but it doesn't mean that God is causing it. God is using it, as Romans 8:28 says, for we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord, to the called according to his purpose. There is a purpose in everything, including grief. But I want to encourage you today, you can put your hope in the Lord. His compassions never fail. His mercies are renewed every day. You know what you have to do today to keep hope alive? Just get up one more day. Set your eyes on tomorrow. Walk through this day, putting your trust in the Lord, because the Lord's mercies, the Lord's love, the Lord's grace gives you hope. That's why Jeremiah says, I recall this to mind, and therefore I have hope. And I hope today you also will put your trust in the Lord and have hope.